Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to our East Coast friends. We are live for Feedback Friday and a special review of something that we're really excited about to share with you in the spirit of Feedback Friday, being that it's morning, at least for us here on the Pacific. Brad, good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I actually almost died this morning. Chris was right behind me. We were leaving the gym. He called me after this happened because it was so close. I was making a left-hand turn. This lady did not step on her brake until she was probably halfway through, quarter of the way through the intersection. So as she was passing me, no brake, and I had to accelerate, and it was kind of like this, passing in flight sort of thing. But she would have, just crushed me. She was going so fast.
Wow. Everyone watching, I did not know that until right now. So I would be just as shocked as you are hearing that.
Oh man. Yeah. But yeah, it was besides that, it's been a great morning, great workout, and excited to be here with you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Well, no, actually, it sounds like that experience that was a near miss, literally faced with the prospect of no longer being alive, makes it even a better morning because you realize that you are alive. And actually, that leads me to share this that I saw. Super motivational. So if anybody out there is feeling like, oh man, I need more, I want this, I want that, and money is your only motivation, which is definitely fine in and of itself in terms of being one of your motivations, because we all need money. There's a why that's under that. Consider this. I saw this YouTube short, I think is what it was. And the guy was like, hey, what would you say, or how would you feel if I gave you $1 million right now? And he was like, oh man, I would love that. I'd be super appreciative. I'd really be grateful. And then he said, okay, cool. Well, how would you feel if I said, let me give you $10 million? And he was like, oh man, yeah, that would be blown away. Right. And he said, okay, well, here's a caveat. You only have literally, if I give you $10 million, 48 hours to spend it, and then you die. And he was like, yeah, no, I won't take the $10 million. And he was like, okay, so what you're saying is that breathing and being alive is more important to you than $10 million. And he's like, well, yeah, of course. And he's like, then why don't you wake up every single morning with that attitude, being grateful for the life that you have, the ability, the breath in your lungs? It was like, whoa.
I drop. That's
right.
Wow.
So here we are. That near-death experience. Well, I'm glad that you're safe and you're through that. We're ready to get into some Feedback Fridays. We got plenty of questions, but there is that topic I'm really excited to share about towards the end. We'll get into the questions right here, unless there's anything else that you wanted to say as I navigate to them.
Nope, let's go.
All right, cool. So we got one question here. And it's all live, and frankly, I don't even read these questions before, so they could be giving us the middle finger, and you guys are going to see that. We're just keeping it real.
Just keep it real.
Get that? Real estate investing made easy. All right, so let me put my copy cup right here. Super helpful Privy real estate software investing Q&A. This is great training for Privy and for on-market properties and stuff like that. So
that's a Q&A that we did with For Benson. First.
Right.
Okay, cool.
That was the first one. And then we just edited it to cut out all the negative space, let me get to the next question, kind of like right here. So thank you everyone for sticking with me.
Oh yeah.
Jason York says, can't find video one. And also, what's the approach? Act like the buyer, keeping contract assignable for tax reasons, or being upfront about wholesaling? So let's stop there and just answer that. I will take that one on, and then I'll volley it over to you to give your feedback. As far as when you're wholesaling and you're wholesaling, should you act like you're the buyer keeping the contract, or whether or not, and she says, or he says, sorry, for contract assignable for tax reasons, or being upfront about wholesaling. Let me just put it this way. If your intention is to wholesale and all you're doing is wholesaling, totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you're speaking to a seller, I wouldn't necessarily recommend anything either way. Let me tell you what I do, and then you can either follow suit or say, no, I want option B, and I'll share option B with you. Option A is what I do, and that is if I'm on the phone with somebody and they say, which many off-market sellers, they have no idea, so they never even ask, like, are you going to wholesale my property? They didn't even know what wholesaling is. But if for some reason they did, what I say, and it's because it's true, hey, I'm an investor. We have that as a tool and an option when we partner with other investors in the area who are going to take this to the finish line in terms of fixing it. Sometimes we hold on to the property, and sometimes we'll actually, instead of buying and holding it as a rental, we'll just fix it up and put it back on the open market. The truth is, with your property, we're not exactly sure which of those strategies you want to deploy. Things are changing so quickly in the market that we'll make that determination when we get closer to escrow, right? The close of escrow. So usually something like that is sufficient. I have never actually had anybody push back. I can tell you the way that Chris would tell you to do this, and I know that so can Brad. And he talks about, when all else fails, when you're talking about, hey, look, I might not be your buyer at this price, but if you're okay with it, what I can do is I do work with a large network of real estate investors, frankly, all over the country, some of which who are local to your area, many of whom in both categories, whether local or otherwise, would be interested in this property. And they actually may be willing to pay more based off their investment strategy. So, I could kick it over to them, and then you get whatever price, the same price that we agreed to, and then I can just get the difference as like a finder's fee. Is that okay with you? So many other ways to actually ask that question, but that's what I would suggest for that. So really, I wouldn't be acting like you're the buyer. I think that's out of integrity. But if you have plans to ever do anything other than just wholesaling, if you have plans to purchase the property, then I think it's appropriate, and you're within integrity, to just say, well, I'm a real estate investor, and that's one of the strategies that I can deploy. But ultimately, my goal here is to make that determination once we get closer to the close of escrow, right? And then you can make that determination, whether or not you're going to buy and hold it, or whether or not you're going to fix and flip it, or whether or not you're going to wholesale it to an end buyer. What do you think about that, Brad? I know you got some things to add to that.
Yeah, no, that's all good. That's all good. I agree with all of that. I would say that the term wholesaling, it just has like a really bad stigma in the industry as a whole, especially when it comes to agents. And the reason is that a lot of wholesalers are new. They don't run their numbers correctly. They just waste everybody's time. They waste buyers' time because they bring deals that don't make sense. They waste agents' time and sellers' time because they lock up contracts at numbers that don't make sense. So, your value as a wholesaler is to be able to run your numbers and negotiate to a price that makes sense to an end buyer, that pencils out for a rehab, with a little bit of room for you to add an assignment fee. If you can't do that, you need to work on comping and doing a rehab analysis so that your numbers can get dialed in and you're not wasting everybody's time. So, but, backing up to the question, I don't even think you need to use the term wholesaling. I don't think that's really a term that even needs to be said by you. I would say, if anything, if they're asked, anything that I say is like, we partner with people in the area, and so they might be doing the renovation, and I'm bringing the deal, but you can reframe it without getting out of integrity and not saying wholesaling, because wholesaling just has a bad connotation to it, because we've got people in the industry that don't know what they're doing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, cool. And I said that's option A, and then option B for this, I just want to be really clear, is you could go ahead and say all that stuff, but it is not advisable, especially because if they don't ask, right? So you may, Jason, you may have had somebody ask, right? And in that case, then I would go to option A. But if they don't ask, no, you say, hey, I'm your buyer. Technically speaking, you are going to facilitate this transaction so their home is purchased. You don't even have to use necessarily the words buying in this situation, you just say, hey, if we can agree on a price, would this be a deal to move forward at that price? It would. Great. Awesome. Cool. Well, let's get you that agreed upon amount, right? Let's get you paid. Let's get it. When's escrow closing? Okay, escrow's closing this day. You just go through the process. You don't need to literally say like, I am your buyer. I am going to fix it up. And then of course, in the back of your mind, you're going to wholesale it. And only one more thing to that before we move on to the next question and sets of questions is this. That is, I have one of my mentors in the back of my mind who used to say this all the time. And it confused the crap out of people, okay? But I'm going to clarify this. He used to say, for every single person out there who is wholesaling, you absolutely have to be prepared to take this project on yourself. Now, while I agree with that in theory, practically speaking, that's not really feasible. So what I would say is absolutely make sure before you even begin wholesaling properties that you have a solid buyers list and great relationships to make sure that you can, with an integrity, be able to say, I'm going to partner with an investor to take this across the finish line. Okay.
I think I've heard I think the reason that your mentor said that, and I'm just speculating here, but I know that in some states, it's stricter than others, but if your intent was to never buy it, you can face litigation for damages, for or lost potential revenue because of the unique specifications or qualities of the property being real estate that this property is, and having it locked up, they lost potential actual buyers. So right. Yeah.
All that said, you can just avoid all of that, making sure that you have deep relationships with the people in your area who are doing deals, or in any area that you're doing deals, to know that that property will get closed and you're not just pulling anybody's chain. So very, very good point that I'm glad you brought up. So this is a comment more, and we'll just breeze past this because it's not a question. And I really appreciate it, Mike. Loved it. Do more of this. We went through yesterday, scorched earth, we're backing out of deals. And that was very interesting, to say the least. I don't know anybody who is backed out of deals before like that. Let me turn that off, and then let me just get on screen here to say hi to everybody while I'm scrolling. So cool. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mike. Really helpful info. More live calls would be great for this too. I just wanted to mention this. Live calls, we're going to be doing them every single week, whether they are live seller lead calls that we're following up with, or whether they're legit like cold calling. And of course, if there's any feedback that you have as you listen to this live or even recorded, put it in the comments, because we can add this stuff. It's all what we all do anyway. Hence the title yesterday of everything that you want to see that nobody will show you. We have egg on our face all the time. Well, okay, not all the time, but because of the volume of properties that we're doing, it's just statistically relevant that we would also have some that fall out of contract. So how do you deal with that? How do you approach that? We're just going to share that, right?
Yeah. No, so, I think when we started the channel, we wanted to be as transparent as possible. I know when I started my Instagram page to, go alongside the content we're doing here at the YouTube. By the way, follow me on Instagram at Brad Does Real Estate with underscores in between all those words. It is on the Zoom bottom left-hand side of my little video here. But it's to show everything about investing, every side, not just the highlight reel. And a lot of people don't know how to have those uncomfortable conversations. So I'm really glad that you guys went live to do that, and I didn't have to.
Right. No, literally.
I would have, but Chris wanted to do the content. So
exactly. They were your calls though, too. Like you were going to follow back up with them and have those conversations.
I was going to have to do that. Yeah, I don't enjoy those calls, but there are opportunity. In fact, and actually for the people that were on the live yesterday watching that, that heard the call to Darcy for Louisiana Avenue property. I called her back. We were just going through the cancellation. We actually never opened escrow on that, so there was no EMD to disperse, which made it easy. But I repitched what Chris had already pitched on the first call, which was seller finance, which he pushed back on. So the seller was just going to either sell it outright or do the renovations and fix it up himself. But anytime I hear that, I am just like, well, your initial intention is to sell. If you can't sell at the price that you want, why would you, if you're going to then, kind of pull an ejection cord and have to renovate and rent and hold it longer, and that's really not the strategy you want to do, why not do seller financing where that money is technically now turned to an investment with a return? You get the property, the price you want, and actually get rid of the property like you initially intended. And because you were willing to rent it out, you didn't need all the cash right now. In fact, that plan would have been to put more money out of pocket into the property. And then guess what, Miss Agent? You're not getting paid on that. He's holding it. And the work that you've done since January of this year is all for naught. So when I framed it that way, she said, okay, I'll talk to him. He was his pushback was that he was kind of afraid of, holding a note, because at least with tenants, you can interview them and qualify them. I'm like, well, wait, let's do that. If that's the only thing he's worried about, interview us to see whether we are noteworthy.
My intention was to have a soundboard, and I am putting one together so that when you say stuff like that, you'll just get the snares.
Like that.
Yep. It's just going to go boom.
Okay, nice.
Right. Or any other sort of sound.
I love that. Yes.
You know what I mean? Yep. So what many people don't know is that I used to run live events for a very long time. And I would be behind there, and I would always, my thought was this: obviously I wanted to respect the people who are on stage, but I also wanted to push the line to where the foibles that people would, mess up or trip up, that I would like highlight them in a respectful way to make the audience laugh, so they'd wake the heck up. Because a lot of times, you get that lunch hour come in, or you come back from lunch and you're just the whole crowd of whatever 50 to 800 people falling asleep. They're like full and they're going into a food coma. So I did just hit those sound effects, and people would just start laughing. And we had a good rapport, the people who were on stage. Some of these guys from A&E's Flip This House, and other people too. So it was fun. It was a fun time in my life, and I want to resurrect that on this channel, just to have fun with it, and eventually outsource that to somebody else who's going to be running the board instead of just me, as I try to do all things I can. And that's what we're partly going to talk about today. So
I like fun.
Well, the fun is what we're going to talk about, and how you can put the fun in a functional team. And that is just considering that we are rolling out with that employee hiring system made easy for virtual assistants. It's going to be free in a playlist here. We're almost done with it. But it dawned on me that not everybody is going to say, yeah, I need an executive assistant. Yeah, I need a phone sales rep or a cold caller, right? Or an SMS sales rep, like a text message marketer, because not everybody's going to do all those things, especially in the beginning. So I wanted to just take a minute to have a serious conversation with every investor that is on this live a little bit later, to go through how you can stop working so dang hard and actually make more money. And it can happen now, not later, now. And it has nothing to do with investing in a course or anything like that. It's just follow these simple steps to determine what will do that for you. And we have a path to success for that I wanted to share as kind of like a prep for the actual course, so that when that comes out and you guys start taking it, then you can put that mindset on of like, okay, I already did those key things to check off the box, and I did the work to determine these things, and now I'm set to take this course So then I can take action on that course, because it'll scale your business. It'll free up your time. You're not going to have to work so dang hard, because I don't know. Some people like working that hard, but after you pass your 20s and then you're in your 30s and 40s, like we are, you don't want to work that hard. You just don't have the energy. So
Frankly, I'd like to spend more time with my family and not work the rest of my life forever.
you'd probably be the only one.
Right. That's such a weird thing,
weird.
right? Oh, God,
Yeah.
I know. Sorry. I can't believe I actually said it out loud at live.
You're so weird, man.
I'm so embarrassed.
All right. So anything else you wanted to comment or make a remark on regarding the lives and all that last question? Really was more of a comment before we move on.
Let's move on. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, cool.
Get
So-
stuff efficient. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Oh yeah. So we got one from 2 days ago, and a lot of this stuff, there are comments, but we can speak to, because a lot of times when there's comments, there's questions that are underlying those comments and presuppositions that we all come with in every scenario. So here we go. This was one comment that they said, how can I get your free contents? We were talking about watching us close some seller leads live. And if you didn't see that live, it might be a good use of your time. Check it out. It's really cool. But the free content, all this stuff is going to be on YouTube, everyone, in playlists and this and that. And I did get another question that talked about, if you're selling something and you say it's free, that's out of integrity. And I said, no, all the training's free. You guys can replicate it. Like if we show you how to, the same way that we hire, I'm walking you through how to create all the job ads, and you can do it yourself. Right. But there's also an easy button that's like, all right, well, I wouldn't want to do this. I'm the first one to buy. I get sold easily. If you don't, then good for you. But as far as the easy button, knowing your time is worth more than, trying to recreate the wheel, some people have more time. Some people have less time.
Definitely.
You can get that stuff.
You're going over the overarching theme, and then you're going through specifically step by step how to do it. And then you can also, as another investor, you can look at that and say, all right, this is how to do it. Here are all the hardline things that I actually need to create and have to get those things done. So to get more color to that, you can build out those things that we would then give you if you paid for them. But, it's like you said, it's the easy button. Do I want to get started on hiring and getting those people in those positions? Or do I want to work on the spreadsheets and the templates and the questions and all kind of the boring administrative stuff that's already been done and created, where you can just say click and have that available and get to moving?
Yeah. Even when you're sourcing for job ads or something through, when you go to create a job ad, you're going to look at what's already out there. I found that a lot of it isn't catered towards what we teach about in the real estate space, in particular. And it's still a lot of work, even using ChatGPT. Because hey, ChatGPT is really cool, but at the end of the day, if you're leveraging ChatGPT, you're going to get that cookie cutter kind of response right now, which is fine. But still, it's taking your time to do it.
To that point too, is as much as ChatGPT is great, you still need to know how to talk to it and prompt it. So
100%.
If you don't know how to prompt ChatGPT, you're not going to really get the content or the answers that you're looking, the end result that you're looking for.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Which I'll just share with you guys a little sneak peek. The course itself is the deliverables that we're talking about, and what you need to create if you want to create a successful business that scales really quickly is you got to go through create all the job descriptions and posts for the executive assistants, the offer letters, the disposition letters, the email vetting sequences, which are huge because we automate the process of actually being able to respond to a flood of candidates that are coming in. And this is like a killer, dude. This will weed out 90% of the people that are coming through so that you don't have to waste time. And then there's a 2-stage interview outline that is part of a deliverable, right? And you see there's B and S and all these different things because there's different tiers depending on your need, depending on your desire. But then it goes through the phone sales, the exact same stuff, interview recordings of us doing this, SMS sales rep, that is text marketers. We obviously have a system that's built for that. The lead manager role. And then there's a bonus that we're going to be rolling out with soon about an outreach specialist. What the heck is that? That's building your team, having somebody else reach out to other professionals like realtors to build your team. Because if you're an investor, and even if you are saying, I can't budget for, which we'll dive into, paying a virtual assistant, there are investors out there that you can partner with. And how do you get in touch with the top ones? That's part of what the outreach specialist does. And then also the agents that are out there who can not just bring you pocket listings, but are a key component to helping you comp, especially if you're new. We, even as seasoned vets in the real estate investing space, rely on some of our realtors for tough comping situations. They know the market, they know the area really, really well. So we say, hey, this is our opinion of value for an as-is purchase price and for an after repair value. What do you think? Because you've been in this local market in the zip code for 20 years, like, give me your opinion of value, and they'll do it, right? They'll do it because, of course, there's a way that you build value working with realtors, with many of you may already know. But the nuances to it, obviously, we'll be talking about that too. So that's just a little highlight of what to expect in that. And I'm really excited about it because if I had something like this when I first got started, this course that obviously we're putting out for free, then I would be able to have, I don't know, I'd be hanging out with Grant Cardone at this point, I think, maybe. Just a little thought for y'all. I don't know if that's your goal, but it was, one of mine. I have idols that I look up to as well.
We'll get there, Christian.
Yeah. Yo, I'm really excited about this. Thank you so much for Danny B. He said this was super helpful, and so much so that he gave us like a super thanks.
Oh,
Which I thought was really gracious. That was awesome. And he did it twice. The one that we just did this. So he wasn't on live, but he gave us that. And even Privy. So there's not a lot of other questions. There's just a lot of love. Oh, appreciate Alan too. He gave us another super chat.
nice.
So
That's awesome.
We can get into the special that we wanted to address today. If you'd like to. I do also want to for sure give you an opportunity yourself to share anything that was on your mind for Feedback Fridays, conversation that you've had with not just clients of ours, other investors that we're joint venturing with, as well as sellers. If there's anything that stuck out that would be valuable for those people watching right now or in the recording.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to highlight the call that I had last night that I referenced earlier. When we had to back out of this deal, a lot of people, I would say, are probably going to be discouraged and say, well, that's it, it's done. It doesn't work at a cash number, so I've got to back out. Now, maybe you don't know how to structure seller finance or subject to, or any type of combination hybrid model, or creative finance in general, in which case I would highly encourage you to go to some of the trainings that Christian's put out on the channel about subject to and seller finance. And it's not just our channel. I mean, there's, Pace Morby does a lot of, that's his thing, is sub two. We're in that group as well, and our students. So, but to highlight the fact that even though they say no, it's not necessarily a no. There is a chance, as long as you can frame it in a way that aligns your interests. And in the case of an agent, it's getting them paid. So if they have the choice of pitching a seller finance again, which to a seller that they've already talked to in a way that they may have not done it before, and just canceling the contract and moving on. In this case, they get paid if they succeed. In this case, they don't get paid if we just, cancel. Then aligning their interests in, hey, let's get everybody paid. Let's get this thing across the finish line. That's what you need to be thinking about anytime you encounter a challenge or any type of hurdle in the conversations that you have. How can I align our interests? How can I get on the same side of the table as the seller or the person that I'm talking to, the agent, and make this a win-win? That's really the goal that you should be looking for in these conversations. So
awesome, man. Thanks for that. So we did have a live question. Dig, good to see you on here again. I did just share that in the chat. Welcome. He said, you pay potential team members on a commission basis in the beginning phase of building your business. Now, that sounds like a statement, and it very well could be. And if it is a statement, you would be right in some cases. And there are other cases where I wouldn't recommend that. So if that is a question, I said, hey, what role in particular do you have in mind as it pertains to your question? Because it's role specific. You know, we have commission only sales reps that are working with us, many of them who actually watch this and will be watching this live right now because they're focused on leveling up their education to be better closers or better setters, as it were, because there's the setters in the role. So all that said, we do and we also don't. We want to make sure that we hire correctly, but we'll answer that question in more depth. Wait for your response. And I'll get into essentially when you're looking to scale yourself, if you've ever been in a position where you're working, you know, a full-time job, and then this is a side hustle for you, or if this is a full-time gig for you, and then you quit your job, congratulations, because that's awesome. It might not feel like something you should be congratulated for. And if that's you, you know, it's been me, and I know it's also been Brad and Chris. It's because we're still acting as though we're trading time for dollars as business owners. And ultimately the business owns you instead of you owning the business. And you may even be working more than when you had a full-time job, right? And the goal is to, you know, get into the business to free up more of your time so that you can be financially free and not have to worry about working. And Brad made this crazy statement earlier. He said what his goal was to spend time with his family, right? And I mean, I share that too, but I'm sure nobody else does, right?
Weirdos.
No, everyone wants that, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So whether it's your friends or whether it's your family, if you're married or single or whatever, heck, even if you just want to spend more time because your passion is music, but you also love real estate and you want to go gig or busk on the street and you're a great musician, you know that the game is rigged for Hollywood and, you know, record deals and all that stuff. And I say this from the experience of actually being in the music industry. I don't know if anybody knew that, by the way. I was in the music industry. I'm not going to tell you the name of the band that I was in either, or the bands that I was in. So
I knew that. I've heard some of your music.
You did. Yeah. It was good.
Good. It's good. Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment.
Beautiful voice, everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That wasn't a compliment to the in a world where the city is in chaos, right? Not the movie voice, but the voice and singing. So
exactly. Not your voice actor voice.
Right, which I also did, by the way. So jack of all trades, and I determined that the master of real estate would be the master of one, and that is a work in progress. I think business and development in whatever you're in is always an evolution. So with all that in mind, thank you, Dig, for getting back. He said it was meant as a question. My apologies. It was meant as a question. Chris, oh, it was just duplicated. Okay, cool. So what role in particular, right, as we get into this? So because your vision is for your company to free up more of your time and actually get more back, more time back, more finances to afford whatever you want to do, you literally, if you haven't determined this yet, the first thing to do is you have to create a vision for yourself and your company. It's a non-negotiable, even for the personalities like mine who are like, well, I want to think about it, but I don't really want to write it down. Get in the habit of writing your goals down and determining what you want to do, right? Why? And we won't focus on the why because we have other stuff about why, and that's a lot of motivation. It's important, don't get me wrong, but like the why has to be more than just financial freedom. And then even so, like spending time with your family. Okay, cool. When you distill it down to that, distill it further. And this is all about hiring people and freeing up your time so that you can get to that why and keep it fixed in mind all the time. So once you get that, it's like spending time with your family. Doing what? What do you want to do? Spending time with my family. Even you could even go so far like I did and plan out a schedule for yourself. My schedule is this. Let me share this with you and be vulnerable. And you can use this too, because you might like it. 3 to 4, 3 to 4. 3 to 4, 3 to 4 is my goal. working 3 to 4 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week. And I give myself that flexibility because one, I enjoy doing what I do. So, I mean, I really don't want to say I'm only going to work 3 hours a day, 3 days a week. Frankly, it's a lot of fun doing what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that I'll be enrolling my wife soon, but she has a full-time job doing something else related to this hiring stuff. She's a full-time sourcer and a top performer in a nationally recognized company. She's also going to be a special guest on our May 24th live masterclass, where we talk way more in depth about the practical how-tos when it comes to determining hiring and scaling your business. So she has been a sourcer and a recruiter. She's a absolute rock star when it comes to that. And I was just blessed to actually be able to marry her. But at one point, she'll be involved in this business a whole lot more because she has a lot of super great knowledge. And I would encourage you to link in the description, sign up for that. When this live ends, I'll put it in there and we'll get you guys in there. It's a free event. So, just be there for the launch. And that also will jettison the employee hiring system made easy course that we're going to be putting out for free as well.
Yeah, buddy.
Be clear on your vision is the point.
Yes.
What does success look like? You have to know before you hire anybody, what does success look like for you in that role, doing that task? What does success look like? So you could have a metric as to what's going to keep them employed, give them bonuses and incentives. And then think about this. If you don't know what to outsource, consider what do you enjoy doing the most in this business, right? Write that down. And then that determination should help inform what you're going to outsource first. And then, right, what can you tolerate doing, for now? And then, eventually outsource. And then what do you just hate doing? What is it that you hate doing? Brad, what is the number one thing that you don't like doing as a business owner?
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. Because there's so many. No. It's got to be anything that has to do with like being organized. Like I'm not a like naturally inclined organized person. So keeping spreadsheets, integrating, anything like that really just like it like makes my brain turn to just like melts my brain. It just turns to mush. And like I'll do it if I have to. But working with somebody who is an integrator, my wife also is an amazing integrator and organized person. So that she's a huge blessing in my life because she keeps us all organized. So
you just saw her in the mirror walk up the stairs too.
Oh yeah, right up here.
It. Interestingly enough, my wife just popped in too. She knows that we're live. She said hi, but she wasn't on camera because you were. Anyway,
no worries.
I can tell you that what I don't like doing is anything bookkeeping related. Period. Yeah. So that's one of the first things that I had to outsource. Okay. So think about what you absolutely hate doing, because if you're doing it begrudgingly every day, it's going to take longer for you to do it. Right. And some mistakes to avoid as far as how to communicate with these people, we're going to talk about. But like I've literally had to ask some of my employees to take time off and relax, right? Especially if they're in a role that they aren't really best suited for. And these are some of the mistakes to avoid, right? I've made these mistakes before because I didn't put into place first the hiring system that we're going to share. So consider that before you make a hire. Like, are they best suited for this role? What if it's not my system that you follow? Doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters to me because I want you to succeed, and I have faith in what we've taken the last decade plus to develop. Again, for you, completely free when it comes out. I'm in progress right now. But there's a couple things I would say there's 11 specific things to do before you hire a VA. So write down absolutely everything you're doing with that in mind, with what we just talked about. What do you enjoy doing the most? What can you tolerate doing, but eventually you're going to want to outsource to somebody else? What do you absolutely hate doing that you just cannot stand doing? And know what time all of that takes. We'll tell you in this VA hiring system that comes up called the Employee Hiring System Made Easy. This is the Virtual Assistants Edition, that you should be hiring an executive assistant and a SMS phone sales rep, that is a cold caller, and then a SMS sales rep, that's text message marketing, and a lead manager to manage those leads and take it off. And all of them are virtual employees, right? But that might not be your journey. So understand that the systems are methods to hire. We're just suggesting these individual people. Keep all of this in mind. You have to know how long it takes and how much you're going to pay them. And what things are your specialties that you can do as a result of your years of experience. That's what you're going to keep and you're going to continue to work on while you outsource the rest. You don't want to outsource your expertise. That's just one thing that even if you've grown a little tired of doing it, you could talk about partnering with people that have the same expertise to share the workload, but you definitely want to make sure that all you're doing are the things that are your specialties and that you get to the point where you're not focused on those other tasks and you're replicating yourself. And trust me when I say this, as far as budgeting is concerned, you could get this done for the same price as going out to eat a couple times in a month and a couple Starbucks runs. So that sacrifice, not doing that for a while, will give you the ability to do that even more, right? By scaling your business and bringing in more revenue. As a real estate investor, absolutely. So those are just a couple points. We have a couple more, right? We're going to talk about figure out what you shouldn't be doing, creating an SOP, and we have an SOP creation machine that is going to be game changing for you that will link in the description. It integrates AI and it integrates video and your conversation as you speak to it to be able to create an SOP for you that will be for internal purposes, that will expedite the role of creating an SOP so that you can outsource that role. And it's a step-by-step for other people to follow. So I'm going to share that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about budgeting for a role specifically so you can understand how much is normal for that particular expertise. And then, of course, this is where the rubber meets the road. After you've done that prep work, now it's time to create a detailed job post. Then we have to know where we're going to post that job to get the most qualified candidates as far as the volume of candidates who are most likely qualified. I found a couple places. We usually hire from one or two of them. And then obviously when your job post is live, how do you filter the applicants? I briefly mentioned that there are automations that are absolutely free that you don't know about yet. If you have a Gmail, that are going to expedite vetting out candidates that just simply didn't follow directions and that aren't the right fit for you and your company, because they not only do they not follow basic directions, but they're just not a good fit for you, whether it's a price point, whether it's an availability point. And those are the vetting sequences that you definitely want to know about. So all of that said, in addition to that, there's the interview process for those candidates who you want to extend an interview to. And we say a minimum of 2. And I promise you, when you have a minimum of 2 interviews, minimum, and you qualify them this specific way and structure the interviews in the way that we're going to share here in a minute, then you will absolutely end up with the best candidate at the best price for the role. And you're going to be able to afford them, and you're going to be able to replicate and scale your business and get to that why that you established a lot faster and a lot sooner. And I say all of this because it's important that you don't just go out and hire, because I'm sure you've heard other people say, you have to hire to replicate yourself. You have to, well, okay, sure, they're right, but you just don't want to go out there and then post a job ad without any of these foundational things in place. Do a little bit of work in the beginning to prepare yourself for massive success and a way easier time managing, which we're not covering a lot about managing yet. That is an employee management system made easy that we're developing. Again, it's going to be a free course that goes through all of that. And it's just exposing and sharing what we're doing. But just know the reason why I bring all this stuff up here on Feedback Friday is we got a lot of feedback about this. We even have some questions and comments here in the live about this process. And if you want to be a successful business owner, regardless of what niche you're in, you have to hire right. And one thing that I'll say before I turn to those questions, and then I talk to Brad and ask about his feedback so far, and before we get into this list that I highlighted, is this. If customer service and customer experience comes first in your business, you're going to fail. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that before. It's kind of a paradigm shift. What should come first are the employees. And if you value your employees above even your customers, because you're the business owner, remember, and you teach and equip your employees to value the customer, they will do that for you and create a good customer experience for you. So employees are number one. They're the ones that are going to take you to where you want to go, right? So Brad, you can chime in, or I'll go to some of the comments and questions that we've got, and then we can continue after that. Anything you wanted to say on that? It was a lot, packed full of a big overview of what I really wanted to share and what I'm excited about.
No, I think you covered it all. Yeah, no, we can move on.
Awesome. So MB, what's up? Good to have you on here. He said, I want the easy button, but need to learn more and be confident in myself. And that's what the course is for, right? That's what the course is for, where we're going to go through that. And we're actually, let's just I'll really quickly bullet point what the course is so that anybody listening can say, oh yeah, that sounds like I want to hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel so that I can get notified when all that stuff comes out. So there's 5 chapters. The first chapter has 4 lessons. The 4 lessons are this of chapter 1, where to find and how to prep and hire, right? Or prep to hire. And that is just an overview of the system, the why behind it, the why the heck does this matter to you at all? And then where to look for candidates specifically and where to avoid. And then critical considerations for hiring virtual assistants that most people just gloss over and they don't think about, which is sort of what I covered a snippet of yesterday when the thumbnail says, don't make this mistake again. This is why you were ghosted. What the number one reason why your VAs are leaving, if you've ever tried to hire a VA before, it's a lot of time, effort, and energy, or it can be, which is why we are bringing this course, because we want to make that easy so it's not. But you want to make sure that, you take lesson 3. If you don't take anything else, take lesson 3, those critical considerations. And then the job ads that attract the right candidates. You could put a job ad out and it'll attract a lot of candidates. You get a lot of buzz, but you want to attract the right ones. So that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is getting candidates in your pipeline. How to actually post the job ads, because yes, there's a methodology to it. You don't want to just post the job ad and then that's it. There's actually some things that you want to include in that job ad that are like hoops for them to jump through, specifications that are unique to you and your business, which of course can be copy and pasted from the system that we have, which I'm going to teach on. And then lesson number 2 in chapter 2 is how to vet candidates via email. That is like the number one thing that has caused us to save hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours interviewing candidates over the last several years, because we weed them out really quickly. And I'm sure many of them, we could get a beer together and they would be awesome and we would be really good friends. But for the role, we don't want to hire somebody just because we really like them. They want to be well suited for the role. And that is going to help you. Alongside that, specifically, we share on chapter 2 in lesson 3, setting up the Gmail templates and autoresponders. Again, I said that if you have a Gmail account, many of you already have this, you can actually create autoresponders inside of your email that when you get a specific email from a candidate based off your job post, then it's going to qualify or disqualify them immediately, sending them a specific communication. So you don't have to be eyes on your inbox all the time. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but I have a lot of unread emails. And Chris, I love him and he's an amazing closer and he's good at a lot of things. Let's talk about leaning into our strengths. He's leaning into that strength. And he's not leaning into the clearing your inbox to make sure that all of the communications are paid attention to, right? Intended to, because he's got more than I do that are unread. So I know that we're not alone in that when I say that. So that's huge. And then getting candidates in your pipeline, that chapter 2, lesson 4 is setting up the appointment scheduling and then putting in specific questions that are going to guide that process. And I said this was it is quick because I'm excited about this and this is as quick as I can go. getting people qualified even further or disqualified based on the answers to those questions, taking a genuine personal interest in that individual who is applying for the opportunity, and then offering interviews to candidates, how to do that, key points, things to look for. So we're just going to look at who we have to hire. We're going to screen share. We're going to go through this process. We're going to show everything that actually gets results. And then, of course, chapter 3 is a bunch of interview outlines. Like, this is step-by-step how to conduct this interview for the executive assistant, the SMS or ISA, right? The text message marketer, the cold caller, and the lead manager, and then talk about next steps. And of course, 4, we talk about the second interview, why the 2-stage, how it differs from the first interview, and then talk about chapter 5, following up with candidates, and then, how to send the offer letters out and how to send the disposition letters out. There's a key strategy here that if you aren't hiring somebody that was a potential good fit, you want them in the future. You want them, because as your team scales, it's going to expedite the process of having to go back to the drawing board to hire someone. And every single one of those key points we are rolling out with. So that is to say, when we talk about this hiring system, that's after all of these points where you need to consider who you're going to hire in the first place, whether it's the texter, whether it's a phone sales guy, or otherwise, right? You just want to put yourself in the best position to give them success. And what success looks like for them is if you are confident in the role that you're hiring them for, right? And again, you could say, well, what about a web developer, right? I'm not a web developer. I'm a real estate investor. And I get that. There's ways to do exactly that and have confidence in that role and not necessarily know how to do the role. And we'll get into that as well in the course. So all that is upcoming, and we're going to share a couple pieces to that here in just a minute, in this Feedback Friday before we wrap up and say, hey, get excited for it and send your questions in the replay and now before we wrap up. So I'm going to turn attention back to Brad. Brad, anything you wanted to add to that?
Just that, you guys, Christian and Chris, but Christian's building this out. He spent a lot of time on it. He has a lot of experience. I have personally sat in on a couple of these, and it's a master class on hiring and also sorting. So not even before that interview, when I've been on these interviews, before the interview, there's so much time that you could waste on people who are they aren't intending to waste your time, but just by very nature of how they're conducting themselves, and what their goal is. A lot of things, I don't think you've said it yet, but a lot of times the VAs, ISAs that are in these other countries that are putting the posting for your job are not even actually the people that will be in the role. It'll be somebody else, and so it's just there's a potential there to be very inefficient and waste a lot of time, a lot of your energy, a lot of your resources, and not get anywhere really fast. So the process is a master class in saving time, getting to real good candidates and putting them in roles that they fit in, or that are play to their strengths, and scaling.
Yeah.
Because you can do it all, but you don't need to. And the way that you're going to, when my dad and I had a physical security company for about 7 years. We worked together after I got out of the Marine Corps, and he had started it while I was still in. When I got out, I took over marketing and operations, and we never, I was younger, new to business. My dad wasn't necessarily business minded. He was a police officer for 20 years, so he knew the security side, he knew the legal side, he knew the operations side. But what we both did not really do well was scaling. And so we both created a job for ourselves that we had for that 7 years, and then eventually sold it, the business. So But during that time, it was a lot, it was very laborious. It was a lot of time spent in the business. We weren't really working on it and getting out of it. And, I say all that to say, you could make a successful company and work 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. And I know most people don't want to do that. They want to be able to go on trips, with their family and be able to, just take time away from working. So
Yeah, and
this is going to get you there.
yeah, and you're right, underscoring that point. This is going to get you there. And the reality is, even myself, coming from an objective standpoint, for too long, when I started my journey, I didn't necessarily want to pour into this topic, this time like that I would spend. I wanted to learn more and about transactions and doing wholesale deals and flipping properties, but you miss the expedited business scale, further lead generation, getting more appointments, closing more appointments, and actually implementing what you've learned in your sales tactics trainings, in your underwriting trainings, and understanding what a good deal is and talking to sellers. If you don't scale your team, and even if that means 3 employees, that you're paying $3 an hour, right? And they're part-time, you could replicate yourself so much more and get more deals in your pipeline. And then, you're going to be on here teaching and training as opposed to just us. Cause we want to also not just teach, but we want to learn, and we also want to grow with other people. So that door is always open. We have a couple clients actually that we're going to be going live with here soon, once we schedule that, and they're just going to be able to share their journey as well, and talk about how not just the hiring system, because we one-on-one to this, right, as opposed to putting it in the framework of a course, and teach and taught and trained on this topic. And it was the feedback more valuable of a use of their time than if they were just going at it, working that 12-hour day and being successful, right? Because you could, right? I agree with that. You could work 12 hours a day and be really, really successful. You could be a rock star, the best closer, the best real estate investor. But as soon as you're out of the picture and want to go take a vacation, your business just it stops. Everything stops, right?
Yep.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah.
So work less, profit more, hire right. And when you do, you'll hire once.
Hey, I want to put a little point on that little dot that I and just ask yourself, if I got sick and I could not work, would my business continue generating revenue for me and my family? Or if I wanted to go on a trip and leave for 2 weeks, a month, would I still be successful? Could I still generate income? And if the answer is no, then you need to work at building systems and processes and putting people in place to work for you.
Right. Yeah, it's a really good point. And that's why the trainings, that's why we're putting out the employee hiring system made easy virtual assistance edition. We also have the in-house team edition that we're rolling out too, as well as the management. And it's basically just exactly what we've done to automate our business. Because I think, what was it, last month, Chris left for like 3 weeks. He was on just.
Oh yeah, it felt like an eternity. Yeah.
Just because we miss hanging out with him. You
Yeah.
know, we're all friends.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, he actually, we live in San Diego, so he was gone.
Yeah, he was gone. Your buddy's gone. What do you do? So, if you want to leave your friends, no, I'm kidding. If you too want to leave your friends behind. Anyway, it's been a pleasure here. Thank you, Eric Branch. He says, appreciate you doing these lives and posting the videos. Keep it up. Thank you for that feedback. MB, thanks for joining us too. And we'll look forward to the next live, the next piece of content we're rolling out. We're super excited about. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you're just seeing us for the first time and you're interested in the stuff we're talking about. And if you're already subscribed, I want to say thank you so much for doing just that. And we're going to not go yet because Eric just got in a question last quick. You got another couple minutes? I know we're over.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. He said, I have an off-topic question. Which of your live sessions would be a good time to ask about lead generation tactics for targeting owner finance, subject to sellers? Thanks again.
Ooh, that's a
So,
good question.
yeah. So the answer to that question is, as far as our lives are concerned, honestly, like any of them, they're not as structured as what we do inside of our platinum group coaching masterminds. Those are once a week that we put on, and it's not publicized. It's just like what we call the Made Easy community. So people are on a Discord channel that we have, and they're asking those questions throughout the week. We're answering them in texts and stuff like that, but also once a week we'll go live in a Zoom room where we're all together, and it's a pretty intimate. So it's not one-on-one, but it's rubbing elbows with other community members for the Made Easy community, and we can go into way more depth on those topics. However, you absolutely can ask them anytime, and we're happy to answer them. I mean, anything else to that? No, that's right. Anytime.
Awesome.
So cool. All right. Well, and if this ends and you still have more questions, let us know. We'll be happy to get back to you. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a fantastic weekend, and join us on the next live and on our channel, where together we're going to make real estate investing easy.
Easy.